ready to talk hockey. Streaming from the Oilers Live Studio. Subscribe or follow today.
Hey, it's Michael here with another Tuesday edition of Oilers Live. I'm going to do something a little different tonight and go solo tonight on Oilers Live. We'll see how long we go. Mainly just to continue with the Tuesdays and give you an update and a preview of the LA Kings versus Edmonton Oilers rematch. Dursa's on Facebook already. Draisaitl's revenge game. Love it. Absolutely love it. Looking forward to this one tomorrow night. And the LA Kings are no slouch this year, so it's going to be a good one. The other reason I'm going solo is, you know what? Frankly, I'm tired of not getting the last word. So this way, I get my own last word. I can do that however I like, and nobody gets to say anything. Well, it is, after all, my show. And so sometimes it's a little bit fun to do that. You know, hopefully you will get you on the different chats. I can't really see. I'm going to see if I can log into Twitter and get you there. But there's a number of different ways, of course, you can interact tonight, and certainly hope that you do. Love having everybody chime in and give me their thoughts, positive or negative. Not always positive, probably. Oilers are sitting now at 9-7-0, a couple games over 500. And the Kings, surprisingly, 10-7-1. So they're actually, I mean, when you look at it, you know, their record isn't much different than the Oilers. They have 2 games in hand. So it is, you know, very similar. But yeah, I mean, it should be an exciting one nonetheless. All right, I'm logged into Twitter. Hopefully, if you guys are on there, I can see what you're chatting about and respond there as well. So let's have a quick look at this so far today. I mean, when we look at the Kings, right? I said you know, they're 10-7-1 for the season. They're actually having a very similar season to the Oilers, which is decent offense, but poor defense, poor goaltending, whatever you want to call it. They're sitting at -2 on the year, so 61 goals for, 63 against, which sounds familiar. I mean, I did a search on the league, goals for, goals against, the other day, and the difference. And it was clear that outside of Edmonton and Los Angeles, every other team that has a negative goal differential like that is, you know, near the bottom of the pack. And so, you know, something's got to give, right? I mean, the Oilers can't. You know, we've always kind of hoped that the Oilers could go this long with poor goaltending and maybe poor defense, whatever you want to blame it on. Poor goaltending, poor defense, and then outscore that. The Oilers are without Evander Kane now, so a big. You know, we would have guessed at the very least that that's, you know, 30 goals out of the lineup, right? Who's going to fill that? Expectations, I think, for the team start tomorrow night are Stuart Skinner. Some of the questions that we've been having and, you know, around the league and in the media, the Edmonton media is, you know, Stuart Skinner, of course, starts Wednesday against the Kings is the expectation, because he's coming off of another good game and he's had a great season so far, all in all. But who starts next game for the Oilers, right? Who starts? It's Saturday, I believe, is their next game where they play Vegas. I mean, Vegas is a divisional rival, so there's some that say that's a 4-point game. Put Skinner in because he's been the most consistent. But then you're going to have your quote-unquote starter sitting on the bench for over a week. I mean, do you do that, or do you put Campbell in and then continue through the rotation? I personally think, there's a couple things. I don't think Woodcroft's made his mind up yet, is my gut. I think he'll wait and see, how does the game go go tomorrow night, right? See what happens tomorrow, as Dursa says. And then check in, right? Watch the practices. See how Soup's feeling, right? Does he come in? Does he come in on Saturday? And does he does he play against Vegas in this 4-point game? And then you got, this is, it's kind of a little bit of a break. And then the other thing, the Oilers have some time to work on a couple of things, right? And they've got some time to work on, some systems while Evander Kane's out, right? And we're going to see what happens there. But let's think about this game tomorrow night. LA's in town. Reverse Retros debut. Let me know in the chat what you guys think of the reverse retros. Are you going out and buying one? Is this a jersey that you really love? I think the most common complaint that I hear is people like the McFarlane logo, don't love the orange on the drop. I remember Bruce McCurdy. I heard him talking. He said he's happy they went away from the LA Kings colors, which coincidentally is who the Oilers are playing. So what's your thoughts? Do you love the new reverse retros? And are you going to buy one? Do you think some stranger on YouTube says don't like the reverse retro? I'm kind of the same thing. And the other thing, we're spending, if you're like me, you spend a lot of money on Oilers gear. You got the hat, got the shirt, got the jerseys, got the podcast. You're spending a lot of money. What more do you need? Do you need another jersey that's going to sit, probably in the closet, unless if you mount it and something special happens tomorrow night? Josh Bolton, our guy that does Tough Call Pod, says, yeah, I'll buy one if Connor McDavid pulls a Sittler tomorrow night. So, how unlikely would that be? But hey, look, they're going to wear them tomorrow night. I think it's great. I'm personally not going to buy one. I've bought other third jerseys. I've bought a lot of different jerseys. The reverse retros maybe a little bit gimmicky for me. A third jersey that you're going to wear over a couple of seasons at the very least. That's what I buy. I buy something where you get more than 5 games, right? Where I'm going to guaranteed be at a game, an Oilers game, and I can buy a reverse retro, right? That's, where I'm going to see that and I can play with that. Dursa says, I'll buy one if he pulls a Gagne. That'd be awesome. Some stranger says the orange and the blue don't work for me. A full metallic look might work. Yeah, I don't mind that as long as they don't go with the shiny helmets. I absolutely hate the shiny helmets. But we're gonna see. It's like don't mess with the streak, right? If the Oilers come in and they win tomorrow night against LA, like hell yeah, reverse retros would be 1-0. We keep that, right? Maybe we all need to wear one if they're going to continue and put a string of wins together. Calgary Flames last night won their second in a row against these Kings. Now, I watched that game. At least I watched the tail half of that game. And the Calgary Flames just about blew. It was initially a 6-3 lead going into the third. But LA kept coming. They've got a good team. Let's not. This is not the team that at least I thought they'd be, right? Not much has changed since last year, and McClellan's still behind the bench. They've got Fiala in though now, who's quietly kind of put together in the last few seasons about a point a game on average, and he's playing on their quote unquote third line if you have it with Kupari and Grundstrom, and he's doing well. He's leading the team right now for the LA Kings. He's got 18 points. He's a point a game guy. Right? And they're getting, it's if you look between the Oilers and you look by the Kings, they're more consistent all the way down, right? Drew Doughty's got 10 points on the year, right? So this team's not, their record's not absolutely outstanding. They've played a couple more games, so that advances them in the standings a little. And their defense, is lackluster. Goaltending's lackluster. I mean, how old is Quick now? I mean, we could take a quick look. Quick's not young anymore, right? He's 36. So it reminds me a lot of, the Oilers playing with older goaltenders. Jonathan Quick has some good games. He has some off games. Cal Peterson there as well. I would expect Quick to get the net. He did, after all, take the Oilers to 7 last year. Cal only, I think, opted into that one game where the Oilers blew them out by 8 goals, or with 8 goals on the in the game. Right, I think the game total 8-2 was that one, and Cal Peterson came in and let in another 4. So I don't know. I don't think if you're the Kings, I think you put Quick back in. He's your guy, right? But they're not. They haven't been exceptional back there. A lot like the Oilers, right? I mean, if Skinner, though, we'll see. I mean, if he gets a good game, the Kings have got to be like wanting to win. Obviously, it's a divisional game, but they're going to be pissed. They had that game. They had the chance to tie that game. Kopitar was right there, wide open net. And Markstrom came over and made a beautiful save. Ended up being 6-5. Kings came back in the third, and they looked hungry, right? This is a team that doesn't quit. They play a hard style of game, right? Just like they did last year. Now they'll have Doughty back, right? They've got Doughty in, But you've got to be, if you're the Oilers, you got to think Draisaitl's going to be more than ready for this one, itching even to play, right? So this is a game that means something. I mean, the series went 7, and that 7th game was up in the air, right? Like, it's not, it wasn't a gimme for the Oilers, and this is not a gimme for the Oilers this year. Obviously, right? Kings are doing well, but they've got scoring up and down the lineup, and they play hard. Kopitar doesn't ever go away. I mean, the guy's amazing, right? Kempe, Arvidsson, Fiala, right? These guys are great. Even on their 4th line, right? Kalyev's back there, and Lizotte. These guys are good 4th liners, right? I think if you look up and down the lineup, LA's got a stronger team up and down, maybe more consistent, right? I mean, who are we going to, although, hey, look, I thought, and again, I mean, let's have the chat tonight. Janmark, I thought, played great when he came in. I thought he's been doing all right. He needs to earn a spot, right? And I thought, he was obviously a little bit rusty. I think it takes some time to get back up to the speed of the NHL game, even though he's played there for a long time. He's an NHL player. He should be used to, being in the NHL, but takes a game or so, right? I thought he came back last game. I thought he played well. Guys that we need to step up last game did, like Barry, right? Oilers need this time. They need to really kind of have their players, outside of the McDavids and Draisaitl's, which we've been saying forever, right? Come in and have a really good game. Ryan McLeod, quietly, in my mind, is putting together just a solid season this year. He's not lighting it up in the stats, 3 goals on the year, nothing major. But here's a guy that just, like, I don't know, it's quiet. Like, he plays a quiet game because he doesn't do a whole hell of a lot wrong. He doesn't take stupid penalties typically, right? Like, he's just there. He works hard every night. Him and Hyman, probably my 2 best or favorite players on the Oilers, not named McDavid and Draisaitl. So love to hear what you have to say. But when I want to go back to this. The Kings are the same Kings team with the addition of Fiala this year over last year. This is the same team, and then Doughty's back. Right? So this is the same team that the Oilers are going to play. I mean, what are your thoughts? You think the Oilers are going to, or do you have confidence that they're going to win this one? I mean, there's got to be, there's got to be something in there, some fight in the Oilers that says, look, we need to, we're back at home. We need to win one at home. This is a big divisional game. I think, this would be key to, how you kind of look at, this team, right? Like, what's the leadership like? We talk about that. There's only 2 games at home, right? It's these ones, and Neil asks, why no love for Nuge? Oh man, I love Nuge, but Nuge is, he can be streaky in terms of his ability to put points on the board, which I think he has to do in order for me to love Nuge. I think he's got to put some points on the board, and part of that is because this year, he's playing up the lineup, right? Yeah, no, and Neil says he's a point per game. Agreed. I'm just saying McLeod and Hyman. Hyman, in a game where the Oilers are down and out, Hyman's the guy. Like, you just know that he's going to bring everything he's got. I mean, case in point is him beating Ovechkin to the puck, right? And, Hyman's always going to be there. McLeod's always going to be there, right? And, the other thing I love about McLeod is, he can play up and down the lineup if he's needed. Now, I love Nuge. There's nothing wrong with Nuge at all. Some stranger says Kings' defense is as iffy as the Oilers. Our offense is better. 100%. I think, maybe that's what tomorrow night comes down to, right? Is whose defense is worse, right? I think, the other challenge though that I have is the Kings up and down the lineup though, I think are better, right? Like they got a third line that can put some points up. Their top 2 lines should be outscored by the Oilers. And I think, the Oilers head-to-head from an offensive perspective absolutely should beat out the LA Kings, right? I mean, they're, you just can't have Draisaitl and McDavid. And you know what? I love the McDavid versus Doughty rivalry, and McDavid wins every time. It's great, right? It's like, this is something I'm really looking forward to. So just want to take a look if anybody's watching around the league today and what the, what some of the scores are. Kings continuing to really kind of kill it, right? But they're 1-1 versus the Sharks right now. Eichel's got a goal. Not the Kings, the Knights. And that's who we're playing Saturday. That's probably going to be the biggest test of the year so far. And I don't think anybody had the Golden Knights doing as well as they have. Be curious what your thoughts are. Do you think they're going to continue down this path, or obviously they're not going to stay at this clip, or at least you don't think they will. But they might. Devils are a similar team. Beat the Canadiens 5-1 tonight. They're 13-3-0, and they were chanting "Fire rough" at the beginning of the season. Maple Leafs are starting to put some games together. 5-2, right? Tonight against the Penguins. And the Pens have been, they're a good team to watch. They're a fun team to watch. Sometimes a little inconsistent, but fun to watch, and probably could use some goaltending. Add DeSmith in net tonight. Canucks beat the Sabres. I believe the Sabres have now lost 6 in a row. So apologies to Jeff Vade, big Sabres fan, and those that are out there. I thought the Sabres, after their start, were going to do really well this year, but they've since taken a turn for the worst. Obviously, Oilers fans, we can understand that. Panthers 5-2. That was a great game against the Panthers the other night for the Oilers. They, that's a tough team, right? And I thought that outside of how they came out, I think if you go to the post game written by our friend Dash on HeavyHockey.com, I think he points out that the Panthers outscored the Oilers 16-0 to start the game. So, highlighting again one of those Oilers consistencies, which is, a slow start. I don't know if, like, somebody somewhere has got to figure that one out, how that changes. But that, the Panthers team, that's a good team. Blue Jackets beat the Flyers. There's, where's Bedard playing next year? Is it Columbus or Philadelphia? Laine's out again, right? Sprained ankle, I think, is what happened. So he's out for a little while. And then the Predators and the Wild, 2-1. No big surprise there, right? But two middling teams. Predators are, 7-8-1. I mean, that's a crazy one. Anyway, if you check out the YouTube, I did put I'd love to hear your thoughts on this too. I put out a video about Connor scoring 14 and 14. That same night that I put that video out, he did 15 and 15, which is a feat that I think since 91, 92, when Brett Hull scored, was the last to do 50 and 50. There's only been maybe 9 players that have gone through the first 15 games with a goal a game pace. Now, of course, Connor's just under a goal a game because he didn't score last game. But he's riding, I think, a 10-game point streak, if I'm not mistaken. Does anybody out there think he can do 50 and 50? I think when I looked at it and I was doing my research for that 50 and 50 and checking out all the players that have come close, and a lot of them after first 15 games have been a goal a game, and then it's like that next 35 games they just disappear. But all of them had, all of these players had this, they all had an elite level scorer or passer, sorry. Every player that's, played and got 50 and 50. And it's been done 8 times and by 5 different players, right? I think, if you look at Gretzky, he had Curry. Brett Hull had Oates, which, was outstanding. Bossy had both Trottier and Gillies. And, of course, Lemieux had Yager at one point. He had Francis and he had Stevens. So, nothing to scoff at. Those are some good players, right? And then if you go back to Maurice Richard, he had Locke and Toe Blake. So, those are some players that they all had that. Now, Connor McDavid's got elite passers. Neil says dry as Fogle. But the thing that Connor McDavid, I think, does differently than any player that's in the league right now is he scores in every different way. If you go back and you look at that video and you see every one of his goals, it's fascinating to me, right? Like he's now, he gets the puck off his stick really quick on a one-timer. He is 2 or 3 times now completely gone around everybody in all 5 guys in the slot, backhand, forehand, you name it, right? Tuck it in behind the goalie. He scored that one on Markstrom where he was just coming around and he knew to shoot it on net. I mean, obviously that one, you got to get a couple breaks. That was a bit of a break, but there's not many players with that accuracy, right, that can put that on net, at least where it needs to be, right? So, I mean, if anybody I think could do 50 and 50, it's probably going to be Connor McDavid. And I know he hasn't scored 50 goals yet so far in his career, but he's a guy that like any great player in the game, he's a guy that can change that. He can adjust his game accordingly, and I think he has. Right? I we'll see. I mean, this is he just needs a couple more games where he gets a hat trick and he's capable. Right? You get a little bit of a ground on that, but 50 and 50. There's obviously people will talk. Leafs fans will talk that. Matthews did it last year, but he didn't do it the right way, which, the actual 50 and 50 club is your first 50 games of the team, right? So if you get injured, too bad. It's 50 and 50. Now I see on some of the sites they've made amends on that, edited that to say there's some other folks that have done 50 and 50, but true 50 and 50 is first 50 games on the single team. And so, Connor McDavid has a chance. Jack Ryanson's on YouTube says, Puljujarvi has McD, and it doesn't help. So I want to talk about this, because I think we're going to see Puljujarvi get another shot on McDavid's line. As we look tomorrow and we see this, I mean, what are your thoughts on Puljujarvi? Right? He's got to be one of the most polarizing guys on the team. I mean, there's nothing more that I want than to love this guy as a player on the Oilers. I mean, he's always smiling. He's a hell of a character. So was, by the way, so was Yakupov. And I guess he was on DFO. Dubnyk was on DFO the other day and called Yakupov an idiot. So I mean, go figure, right? I don't know if I shouldn't quote that. I don't know if it was idiot but he was, Dubnyk, I think, said he was the worst player he'd ever played with. Dubnyk said Yakupov was the worst player he ever played with. Is Puljujarvi that guy, like, for the Oilers, right? I mean, I'm curious what you thought, right? Like, what you think, because here's the thing, I'm not even going to pretend that I've played as high a level as any of these guys, but I've played enough hockey to know that if I had a guy on my line that every time I passed to him, he hit the pad of the goalie, or the puck, somehow died on his stick and we didn't get a goal. Every time there was a 2-on-1 and I got the puck over to him and he just couldn't get it past the goaltender. Like, I don't go back to the bench, and I wouldn't go back to the bench and think, well, hell, shit, that guy's got a good Corsi. Like, keep putting him on my line. At some point, I'm going to get pretty damn upset and say, coach, like, get this guy the F off my line. Right? And, it's been 2 games, right? 2 games. And I thought his last game, Puljujarvi got more chances, more shots on net, more everything, looked better out there, seemed to be playing better. I'm willing to, obviously I don't have any say, but if I was Woodcroft, I'd be willing to give him another look on the line. But you can't, you can't continue to put him out there. Right? I mean, you've got to, at some point, get somebody on the line. If Puljujarvi doesn't get, as Jack says, some puck luck. Is it puck luck? I don't know. Like, is it confidence? What is it? Puljujarvi's got all of the tools to be a guy that is scoring at a first-line pace. He's got a heck of a shot. He's got reach. He's started to use his body. He plays, whether you plays kind of a 200-foot game, right? Like, he's good. The guys don't, seemingly, his defensive stats look good. So he's just got to do that one little extra. which is to take a look at scoring some goals and getting, as Jack says, some puck luck. So I want everybody to take a look when they got a chance. Check out heavyhockey.com. We got a new writer on heavy hockey. His name's Raghu Sharma. He's put his first article up. It's 1/5 of the Oilers' schedule is now in the book, so I'm not going to read it for you, but make sure you take a read. And between Dash, who's been a regular guest on the program here, and Ryan Lotzberg, who has also been a regular guest, they've been doing this call out, standouts, and shout outs after every game. Neil, I love the way you're thinking. Connor will score 70 if Jesse's on his wing. He will shoot instead of pass. I mean, that's the thing. Connor's going to get his points no matter what. So part of you, part of me thinks, hey, just put whoever, put a plug on the line, right? I mean, I'm in the school of thought that you have a duo, right? So is it McDavid and Nuge? Is it McDavid and Hyman? Right? It was Draisaitl and Yamo at one point. So we'll see. Yamo doesn't look like he's going to be in the lineup until Saturday. So that, that changes some things. We'll probably see Holloway play some top 6 minutes. There's another guy that, needs to get it going, right? He had a hell of a preseason. He seems to play well. I think that's a confidence thing. That'll come. You want to love Holloway. I mean, he's got the pedigree to do well in this game. I don't know if he's, going to be a career top 6 guy, but, playing on Draisaitl's wing should be good for him. Maybe you push him up, right? I don't know. I mean, time will tell. I like everybody seemed a little bit concerned about Kane's injury for the Oilers. And I feel like we've got enough depth on this team that we should be able to get through it, right? Guys like Puljujarvi should be able to come into the top 6 and produce. That's what he's been, if I'm to understand correctly, his agent's been saying he's a top 6 guy. Everybody that looks at the fancy stats say Puljujarvi is a top 6 guy. So, now's the time, right? This is maybe the biggest opportunity of his career, right? And look, a lot of you, right? Like, I think everybody's like me, right? I think they look at this player and they say, hell yeah, like, we'd love to have him do well. So let's see. I don't think it's decided yet. Like, I haven't heard for sure that Skinner's going to get the start, but I think it's, pretty much for sure. Renegade Man says, are you concerned about Campbell, or do you think he will bounce back? I mean, obviously, you got to be concerned about the way Campbell's playing. I mean, you can't have a guy like him come in for, that kind of a salary at $5 million per, and then play and get the stats he's had on the season. Now, one of the things that I've heard and I remember is, the comments like that come from Jack Campbell. It's a confidence thing, right? Like when he calls his own play pathetic, right? Like somebody, get the guy a sports psychologist or get the guy something. He's got to have the confidence back. But you may just have to play him through it. And, we're still, we're a fifth of the way through the season. We still got a little bit of time where we can do that. And I think you got to play him against Vegas. I mean, that's what I would say. It just, the only thing that would change my mind on that is if Skinner comes out and absolutely shuts out the Kings and has an outstanding game, then I'd play Skinner again. But if Skinner's got a middling type of game where it's nothing showy but he gets the job done, then then I put Campbell in because you don't want him sitting too long. And he's, I said this on the show before. If Campbell doesn't get more starts than Skinner, something's gone terribly wrong. And so far it has, right? So far it has. I mean, Campbell's been, I think his numbers are among the worst in the league. Jack says if the Oilers can play disciplined hockey and avoid the sin bin, we will win. That's 100% it. But that sort of thing, and maybe that plays well against the Kings. If you're not, defensively, you're not good, then you look like an undisciplined team. Right? If you're going to spend more time in your own zone because you can't get the puck out and you can't do it, on the back end, then you're going to take penalties. Right? And so then, it's just like this cycle. And that's where the Oilers are. Like defensively, we're leaking chances. We come out in the, when we come out with the starts that we have these, insane starts, and then you're going to take some penalties because you're either playing tired or you're playing in your own zone. You take penalties, and then you take the penalties, and it doesn't help your cause any. It's not like you're going to get extra refreshed while you're in the box. No, your guys are out there killing penalties. I mean, how many? Shit, I hate it, but and tell me what you think. I mean, how many times has Connor McDavid been out there to kill penalties this year? Right? He's been out there at the start of every PK, and then at the end, and the reason being is we're taking so many penalties that if you want them to get ice time, then you do that. Neil says, which goalie has more wins? Right now, it is Campbell. Campbell's played 10 games. He's 6-4. But Skinner's played 7 games. He's 3-3 on the season. So, I don't know. Some stranger says Yamo's been rocked so hard he doesn't seem to play the same way anymore. I don't know. Yamo's a weird one to me. I mean, we could talk about that all night. I mean, it's a guy that I'd love to, get, as we all would, a chance to be in the dressing room with him and the team and see, Woodcroft and everything we've always heard is that the guys love to play with Yamamoto. And I don't mind. Like I like that thinking, the way that he gets, he gets in there and he's hard on the puck and maybe he creates turnovers and chances that other guys don't. Hyman does the same thing, and Hyman's consistent, right? So I just Yamo's got to spend some time down the lineup, right? Like that's look, you got to earn your way up, right? I mean, you can't have guys sitting in the top 6 and that haven't earned their way up there, right? I'd love to see McLeod up the lineup, but we need that third C. There's a guy that's earned his way up, but he's stuck by chance. A little bit of talk about the defense. We had Nurse and Cece playing the other day on the top pair, and then Nurse and Barry on the top pair. What's your guys' thought? I mean, it's just, I think, look, CC's stats, I don't know. I read some guy's article about expected goals. I don't know. Maybe it was a tweet. He said CC's the worst defensive player on the team. The eye test to me doesn't, ring true on that. I look at CC as our best defensive player on the team, and maybe at fault because of, there's nobody else on this team that's been able to play top D pair with him. Tell me if you think I'm wrong, but I think Nurse has been absolutely awful defensively. In fact, Nurse has got away with some stuff because he puts a few points on the board And the odd time he's in the, actually quite often he's in the rush. He's right up there in the rush, putting the puck in the bread basket. You know, I love Nurse. I never had a problem with his contract, but he's been, defensively, he's been a liability some games. Neil says Bouchard looks lost. There's another guy, like all the way up and down this lineup. I kept touting when we started the season. I was saying to everybody, I think we're going to get Manson in, and this defense is going to look better than they are because we're going to have a system. But no, there's everybody on here's got somebody. I'm saying Nurse is having troubles. Somebody up in the chat said, they thought that Kulak shouldn't be in the top 4, right? Bouchard's been awful. Barry's been a highlight. Barry, Barry's the guy we were going to trade. And thank God we didn't trade Barry because he's been great, right? He's been consistent. He seems to have found his niche. He's been decent defensively. He's given you the offense. He had a hell of a game last game, right? I expect him to have a hell of a game tomorrow night too. Bouchard needs to do something. Kulak needs to do something. I don't think Kulak's been awful, but hey, Kulak, he's just got to be better. We got to see more of him. Niemelainen, he's got the big hit, but we haven't even seen a few these big rocking hits. So curious, what happens there. But the Oilers, losing Evander Kane was not the big deal to me. Finding somebody on D is a big deal to me. Right? Kelly's saying Bouchard in the absence of Duncan Keith is being felt in a massive way. Dash is probably rolling over right now thinking about this. I don't, maybe Kelly, maybe you're onto something. Right? This is a case of Keith having some type of calming influence on this team, and also Keith wasn't awful defensively, right? The guy's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's going to teach guys stuff in practice. He's going to see stuff nobody else sees. Guy's been a hell of a defenseman. And Bush is certainly taking a step back, and maybe he was just shielded, right? Maybe Bouchard's the kind of guy that you need to shield. Neil says Mike Smith's puck moving helped. I don't know. I don't know that we missed that. Maybe we do. Maybe you're right, but I don't think it helps on the defense side. It's it's now Jack says. Keith's our spiritual leader. He looked like Jesus with those long flowing locks. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe we just don't have a spiritual leader anymore. All right. Well, we're, I didn't think I thought I'd have trouble talking for 15 minutes, but thanks for opening up the chat, guys, and chatting tonight. It's been good. The Oilers are coming into this game. They, I think obviously they need to have a win. That goes without saying. This is an important game. I know it's still early, but it's an important game for the Oilers, just from a divisional standpoint, and right, get something back from after that road trip, which was, I think, it exposed the Oilers, right, and. The Oilers, if anything, Neil says, I'm sorry, I miss Eberle. I didn't think I'd see that one coming. I liked Eberle. Just off topic, but the other day I was watching the Kraken play, and I was remembering when we were in our decade of darkness, and I was live at a Calgary Flames Battle of Alberta game against the Oilers, and Eberle and Hall and Nuge, and remember Eberle made some amazing play, and all I could think of, and I was telling my Flames fan friends, I'm like, you guys are in so much trouble. Like, this team is absolutely going to rock you for the upcoming years. And I think we're in the middle of the decade of darkness. No such thing ever happened. Eberle, has disappointed a lot of Oilers fans come playoff time and saw his way out. What do you think of Woodcroft's coaching this year? Some stranger says. You know what? I'm gonna want to talk about Woodcroft because I look at what in Calgary. Saravelli was saying that that Sutter, when he said his comment about Huberdeau that he was out taking a shit, didn't hit the team the right way. The team didn't like that because Huberdeau was actually injured. And they thought, he wasn't taking it seriously. Who knows? I mean, Saravelli is about as good an insider as you can get. So he probably heard something. Somebody sent him a text to say, hey, we're not happy. It couldn't be a different guy from Sutter than Woodcroft, right? Like, Woody's great. Like, that's a player's coach, 100%. He comes out there. He's good with the media. He doesn't he doesn't come out and say everything's great every single time, but he doesn't call people out the same, right? And I think a guy like Sutter, I don't know. I mean, Sutter's maybe a different story because he's had so much success. But some of those guys we've seen with Tortorella time and again, it gets old after a little while. Right at the start, I think these players react well. In fact, in Philly, they had a time where they were doing well this year, right? And then after a little bit of time, it becomes this. I'm tired of being called out. Neil says it best. Sutter's wearing out his welcome. I think that's going to happen, right? We're going to see. I mean, we'll see how the season goes. Calgary's definitely not out of it. They're 3-5-2 in their last 10, but they've won 2 in a row now, and they're not. They're 2 points back of Edmonton with a game in hand, so they could certainly be at the same step. But I said earlier, in our season previews and every other time, Calgary. When I was listening to all of the NHL media and everything at the beginning of the season, and up until Calgary went on their losing streak. They were all, Calgary's a Stanley Cup contender. Calgary's this. Calgary's that. Huberdeau scored last night, but look, this is a team that you've taken away their offense, and then you've put in new people. Right? It's like. You just can't, you can't change a team up like that and then, come in and expect that they're just going to be all right. It's the same as having a new coach, right? Like, new coach, you get a little bit of a bump, and then after that, it takes time, right? You listen to what Gretzky said about Campbell. We were talking about Campbell earlier. He said it's a new team, right? Like, it's a new team. Kelly says, look, it's a team only as good as their goaltending. How's Calgary's net minding been this month? Like, Markstrom's been awful. He was awful last night, and he got the win. I mean, they were singing his praises on Sportsnet because he made one save at the end of the game, and he made one save the night before. That really was the difference. Last night was the difference between the game, I guess. And I was gonna tweet out about it, but we do have an Oilers goaltender that made that one save when you needed it. So I'll give Markstrom credit for that, as much as I hate to give any Flames player credit. But I don't think Calgary's got the kind of team that's going to outscore a 5-goal per night goaltender. So I don't expect. I'm not I'm not bullish on the Flames this year, like some folks were, and I think, if you're on this listening in tonight, you're an Oilers fan more than likely, so you're not going to be bullish on the Flames either. But we'll see. I mean, I'm not convinced Huberdeau was the answer, right? I thought it was a good trade. Like Treliving, made the best trade out of a very shitty situation. But look, I just don't think that I'm not expecting much out of the Flames. We'll see what we'll see what happens, right? We're going to find out what happens soon enough. Vegas, by the way, is now up 2-1 in that game. So Vegas continues. Obviously, they're playing San Jose, so it's not like the biggest challenge that they ever have. I mean, that Saturday game is going to be huge for the Oilers. It'd be a good chance, and probably the biggest game yet of the season against a team that, if they're going to fight for first in the division, obviously it's going to be Vegas. Some stranger says Flames forecheck hard and are playing and play with a little more discipline. They just don't have McDavid and Draisaitl. So true. The schedule for Vegas, has been a little bit simpler so far this season, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, this, as I said, I think it's going to be a big test for them come Saturday for the Oilers, right? I think Vegas. I mean, simple schedule or not, going 13-3 is 13-3, right? I mean, we've seen the Oilers go, 5-5 in a 10-game easy schedule before. It's just, you still got to put the puck in the net and keep the puck out of the net. And so we're going to see what happens. Obviously, once Vegas starts to play against some of the teams, we'll see what happens. And Edmonton's going to be at home. I'm really curious. I'm curious, and just let me know your thoughts. Like, would you start Campbell on Saturday, or would you, if Skinner has a good game, will you start Skinner on Saturday? We'll see. It's all up in the air. All right, folks. I think I've put in my hour. We've had fun. It's good conversation on YouTube. Make sure, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. Jack says Skinner on Saturday. Do two things for me. Check out heavyhockey.com. As I said, we've got a new writer, Raghu Sharma, who's going to be putting some articles out. Dash has been doing some writing. Durst is always good for 1 or 2 articles. Lotsberg's good for like 4 or 5 a night sometimes. So, the guys have been putting content out, and I think it's good content, right? I love it. I love reading it, and love being part of this. World Hockey Report, make sure you check that out. Pete's Power Plays, he's been putting out, if you want, if you're into putting some money down on the games or whichever, he does his freebies, his NHL plays every day. You can check those out. I'm always retweeting them. And then World Hockey Report, we got our man CJ over there, Cody, is doing some great work there, and he NHL content from around the league. And Raghu is going to join Durst, I guess, post-game Saturday night if we're straight off the pipe, so that's good. Anyway, I appreciate you guys tuning in. I've been doing these heavy hockey minutes on YouTube every week, pre-game. I've had a couple of guys help me out. I'm going to try to do more content on YouTube, so appreciate that. Working on some other stuff and trying to get that going, and just previews of the game as much as you can do in a minute, which is pretty tough. Anyway, if you buy the reverse retro and you're on Twitter, love to see it. Tag me at Oilerslive. I'm kind of I'm definitely not going to buy one. I think the Oilers are going to come out hard tomorrow. I think they'll have a good start. We'll see what happens. This is a rematch game. Expect Draisaitl to have a hell of a game. I think Connor and Draisaitl were pretty much held off the score sheet. I know they got points in that game, but they were more or less held off the score sheet in Florida for those two. So I expect them to come out big. That's my last. That's my last word. I'm going to say thank you to everybody for tuning in. Have a great night. Looking forward to tomorrow night and LA Kings game, and then check out Straight Off the Pipe Saturday post game with Dursa and Regu Sharma. And then keep tuning in to Heavy Hockey. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Good night.
Oilerslive podcast. Oilerslive podcast. Oilerslive.